Still morning. Good morning, everyone. This is the Joint Risk and Resiliency Committee meeting. I am the chair, Cecily Morris. I welcome John Koelmel, Bethaida Gonzalez, also known as B, Michael Cusick, and my note says Laurie's been excused, but I don't know if she's still joined us or had to leave. Okay. This meeting was duly noticed as required by the open meeting law. I welcome the New York Power Authority and Canal Corporation staff. I see on my screen anyways that we have a good turnout with that group. So with that, I'm going to call the meeting to order. The first matter on our agenda is an adoption of the today's proposed meeting agenda. Do any members have any amendments to the agenda? None are heard.
Happy to move it as presented.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Mr. Cusick gave us a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. There being no opposition, the motion carries. The agenda is adopted. We're going to start today with our Chief Risk and Resiliency Officer to provide her review. Then we'll let her introduce other presenters as we go along. I know that Senior Vice President Harley attempted to come here for the meeting today, but was thwarted by some weather issues. Senior Vice President Harley, we'll start with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairwoman Morris, this morning of our committee. Good morning, trustees, colleagues, and members of the public. And again, sorry, I'm not able to be in foggy Messina today, but we had some trouble with being able to fly. Welcome to the September edition of the Risk and Resiliency Overview. We have a pretty busy agenda today, as typical, and so I'm really appreciative that there have not been amendments to this agenda and we can proceed as scheduled. As always, because we tend to be mindful and include very few succinct slides, they are very dense, and I recognize there is a lot of material that we cover. So if we can please advance to my three things to know. So as always, I want to preface our meeting today by providing the committee members with your three key takeaways that we're hoping to impart upon you as you are participating in today's discussions. So the first one is that we'll begin the meeting today with an overview of the mid-year update to our enterprise risk assessments. This again occurs twice a year, every 6 months. Your first thing to know is that there were movements in both the NYPA and the Canal's enterprise risk portfolios. From there, we'll now proceed into deeper discussions into particular program areas around our risk management programs. The first one is around our merchant hedging, which helps us to address the volatility in the energy commodities market. The sister process to that is around credit risk management, where we are providing controls and an overview around the counterparties that we interact with in these transactions. And then we will also address our cybersecurity programs, especially in light of the fact that there have been many news items over the past few months. So we'll give you an update as to how we're managing through. So your second thing to know for today is that all of these programs are keeping pace with the evolving landscape. We'll round out today's discussion with the first time ever that we're going to feature a more broad overview of the Canal's risk management. We are going to feature 4 subtopics. One is around asset management. Then we'll move on to dam safety. We have environmental health and safety. And then finally, public, media, and government relations, which is a really key aspect of how we are managing reputation risk in this business. With that, I'm going to keep us moving right along in our agenda, and we'll bring up our first presenter today, who is Tom Spencer, our Vice President of Enterprise and Operational Risk Management, and he will review the mid-year risk summaries with you.
All right, great. Thanks, Alexis, for the introduction. Start with, good morning to the members of the board, NYPA colleagues, and members of the public. I want to get started with a brief recap of why we do the biannual risk assessments. Our primary focus is to review our current risk profile and then assess any changes in the risk landscape to ensure we remain diligent in the identification and mitigation of those risks that could impact our organization. So in response to that, we started a current risk snapshot reporting process at the end of 2023, and we have continued to try to refine that since then. As we continue to evolve our risk reporting, we have consolidated down from 4 graphics to 2, one for NYPA and one for Canals. So what you're looking at here is the updated graphic for NYPA. Hopefully everyone is familiar with this graphic. The impact and likelihood score for all NYPA enterprise risk on the graph. The y-axis is the enterprise risk name, and the x-axis is the impact and likelihood score multiplied together. The impact is represented by the gray shaded area, and the likelihood by the black shaded area. This graph is of residual risk scores and takes into consideration a wide array of activities and actions we undertake to manage risk every day here at NYPA. So in the spirit of continuous improvement, and how we consolidated the graphics is by adding a corresponding risk appetite range as a thin blue bar just below each risk. I'm not going to do a risk by risk go through for this report. I want to focus on 2 risks that there were changes in. The rest of the risk profile was pretty stable. The risks that are changed are disruptive innovation and third-party risk. They're about a quarter of a way down the graph. The NYPA for under this disruptive innovation risk, as we continue to advance and look at innovative initiatives such as AI business use cases, use of robotics, drones, or new nuclear generation technologies. We have the potential to capture greater opportunities, but also potential for increased risk exposure. So as a result, we increase the potential impact from 4 to 5. The other risk that we increased is directly below disruptive innovation, and that's third-party risk. So as NYPA continues to execute on expanded authority, new and existing generation and transmission projects, and we venture again into the nuclear generation arena, we look to share our transfer risk with counterparties, resulting in our decision to increase the potential risk impact from 4 to 5. They're the 2 risks that changed during this reporting period. And I really want to just emphasize the key takeaway for everyone on this slide is that all the NYPA risks are in the acceptable residual risk range and within risk appetite. So that's a quick overview of the NYPA enterprise risk. I'll pause there for any questions. If not, we can flip to the Canals risk report out.
We get a simple definition of disruptive innovation. Like, what does that mean?
So when you look at disruptive innovation, there are technologies that can impact the risk exposure or the opportunities that can impact the authority. I can send you the exact definition. I don't have it from memory, but the essence of it is we look at those things that are happening on the risk landscape from an innovation perspective and how they are related to NYPA, and do we want to choose to avoid, accept, or try to capture some opportunity around those risks.
A really good example has been the artificial intelligence that we have been discussing, that this is an example, and we had talked about when we increased the risk appetite for this risk. These are areas that we are looking to understand how to utilize these technologies. They may be nascent or developing, but we don't feel that is in our best interest to preclude investigating how we might bring them into our portfolio and use them as business tools. Does that help with that example?
It does, at least for me. Anybody else have a question along that line? Okay, thank you. Let's continue. I apologize for the interruption, but I appreciate the clarification.
No problem. I appreciate the questions. So this is the same chart as NYPA, only for canals. And I just want to start out by saying there's a lot of good news to report for this period's risk assessment on canals. When you review this slide, you will see an improvement in the canal's risk profile, with all the risk now being in the medium to low range, represented by the green and yellow shading on the chart. This is due to a reduction in residual risk scores for two of the top enterprise risks, shifting from the high range down to the medium range, as indicated by the black arrows on the second and third risk down. So for the second risk down, destructive events, we have increased inspections and monitoring, formalized a robust asset management plan. We've worked with key stakeholders on implementing mitigation efforts such as joint emergency action plans. And we did an experiential historical look back of event occurrences. And as a result, we decided for a reduction in likelihood from 4 to 3 was in order, shifting the risk from high to medium. Similarly, for financial capacity, directly underneath it, we've seen improvements on many fronts in this area. We continue to receive the additional $50 million tranche from the state. We have an improved capital planning and budgeting process. We've had an enhanced project prioritization process in place. So looking at those projects that are most critical that we want to try to address first. And it's also reflected in our new strategy statement, where we kind of went from reimagining canals to revitalizing canals. So all this information together supported the reduction in likelihood from 4 to 3, also reducing this risk from a high to medium range. The one thing I do want to point out here is, so our risk reporting is a 12-month look ahead. So, from a year-to-year perspective, our financial capacity seems to be in a good spot. But longer term, right, we still have a shortfall of dollars, given some of the long-term nature and the condition of canals. Additionally, we've had conversations with Rob Piasek and Laurie Alessio, and we've agreed to add cyber risk and also regulatory and legislative risk to the canal's risk profile for the next reporting period. This is due in part to greater visibility of risk working with teams across NYPA and canals. Initially, we didn't have a ton of data in those areas, but we have, over the past couple of years, collected a lot of information and feel like we're now ready to include them in the risk reporting for canals. Some of the other good news, so you will notice at the very bottom of this chart, organizational integration has been grayed out. So this has continued to be one of our lowest rated enterprise risk over the past reporting periods. And with all the progress we've made on the people, process, and technology standpoint, the risk management team, the risk owner, and the risk sponsors have all agreed to take this risk off the top enterprise level risk. Now, it doesn't mean that we won't continue to monitor it and watch it from a risk perspective, but we decided it doesn't warrant, being on the list. So, key takeaway message from this slide is, right, I want to leave the board with the fact this is a really good story, right? All the canal's enterprise risks are being managed in the low and medium residual risk range for the first time since canals joined the NYPA family. So I will pause there for any questions.
I think mine is more of a comment. What I'm hearing and seeing is that this is, and I think you touched on it, Tom. What I'm hearing and seeing is that this is a direct result of the incredible and hard work of the Canal staff, starting with Dave Mellen and top down, working toward providing you all the data, looking at everything, being able to decrease to risk scores, and the way you described it appears to me to go directly back to staff and their efforts. So not for nothing, I'm happy to see and grateful to the staff that their efforts being beneficial to the entire organization.
Yeah, I
So-
mean, echo that, great effort from staff and significant investment of dollars, as an organization. It's great to see, the progress and the return on, that collective investment. So echo Cecily's points. Glad to see the long wanted and needed progress finally coming to fruition. So kudos, one and all. Obviously, at least on paper, critical infrastructure, continues to exceed our risk appetite. So mitigation efforts that, continue to be taken, required, and with, both the authority and canals, we're bumping up against some risk appetite levels here, and just assume we're continuing to do what needs to be done to monitor and mitigate exposures that we have. So, but yeah, great story and very positive progress, and yeah, terrific scorecard and recap. So well done, Alexis.
Thank you. But again, as Trustee Morris stated, it is kudos to the Canals team working in partnership with the shared services of the NYPA family as well. So huge joint effort across all the risk management programs, and really working together to understand where we need to apply resources where they're most needed. So thank you on behalf of all chairmen.
Awesome. I second that emotion. So if there are no other questions, we can flip to the next slide. So, right, shifting gears a bit. I don't know if you remember now, one of the areas that my team was going to focus on, or the risk team was going to focus on, is how to better capture and measure opportunities to review in the context of risk management and risk appetite. So what I'd like to do is just spend a few minutes discussing a new approach we're implementing to capture opportunities called the opportunity risk ratio. So the risk team is partnered with finance team, the enterprise portfolio management office, to analyze project portfolio through an opportunity lens. As part of the EPM, the enterprise portfolio management process, each project at NYPA and Canals goes through a rigorous project scoring exercise, which part of is a risk scoring component. We use this project data to bucket projects into two categories: risk reducing and risk taking. So 4 classifications of projects that we have: state of good repair, mandated, transformative, and growth. So a risk reducing project, or the risk reducing bucket, is comprised of projects that are in state of good repair and mandated. So those are risk reducing, so you would slide lower down the scale from a risk appetite perspective if you had a risk reducing, a larger risk reducing bucket. And then the converse would be true if your project portfolio was around growth and transformative, would slide higher up the scale for a higher risk appetite. So we want to try to put this into play and see if our thoughts actually panned out. So we did do a pilot around the disruptive innovation risk. And as expected for disruptive innovation, there were more risk-taking projects than risk-reducing projects. So their opportunity risk ratio score was higher on the risk appetite area, which indicates that the project portfolio supporting disruptive innovation is aligned with a higher risk appetite. So I'll pause there for any questions. Okay, if not, we can flip to the next slide. So kind of want to bring this full circle and think about it in the broader context of residual risk scoring. And now that we have a risk ratio. So we already have quantitative metrics we look at when we look at the impact and likelihood scores for enterprise level risk and do our assessments, right? Things like risk metrics, internal business controls mapping to risk, business continuity plans, insurance and internal audit findings. Then from a qualitative perspective, we look at enterprise risk drivers and emerging risk drivers and how much controllability we have over those drivers and how that can influence risk. And then from an experiential perspective, you know, we always talk to the people closest to the risk, you know, the business unit owners, and ask for their subject matter expertise. And then we also look at historical data, right? Does what we're seeing that actually occurred comply with what we think the likelihood is or what our impact should be? And then finally, we, in the lower right-hand corner, we have another factor we're going to consider, which is the project portfolio. So, right, how is that mapped to the independent enterprise level risk? Does it have, you know, growth, transformative, state of good repair, or mandated? So when we combined all this together, the opportunity risk ratio will operate as an additional point of consideration when we're assessing residual risk scores and alignment with risk appetite. The opportunity portion of capture is something we've been thinking about for a while. I know Chairman Koelmel has mentioned opportunity in the past, and I think this is a real good step. You know, our initial pilot proved out as we thought. So at the end of next year, for the next reporting period, we'll have this for for the complete set of enterprise level risk. But just another example of how we're trying to, you know, push things forward and always evolve to try to keep up with the dynamic risk environment. So with that, I will pause for questions.
Any questions?
Yeah, no, well done. Good stuff, Tom.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Thank you.
Thank you for that update. And again, it's an update, so there's no vote necessary on this portion of it.
You can take this show on the road. You guys should be able to run some training programs for other organizations. There's a revenue opportunity here somewhere.
On a side note, I just did present at an APPA conference, and I got an email the other day wanting to know if I could present on risk management at the California risk managers thing. But yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Way to go.
All right, thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I'll turn it
Tom.
over to Earl Funlagi, who's the senior director in the risk management team.
Good morning, trustees and NYPA executive management team. I'm Earl Funlagi, Senior Director of Marketing Commodities Risk, and I'm here today with Dennis Chang, who'll be coming up shortly to present on commodity market price volatility. In Tom's slides, he actually showed commodity market volatility as one of the top risks impacting the Power Authority. Dennis and I are here today to provide assurance to the trustees and to NYPA executive management that this risk is being managed, monitored to be within the established risk appetite, as well as provide an update on the counterparty portfolio that supports all of the hedging programs. The marketing credit risk team is responsible for oversight on commodity programs. What my team gets involved in is looking at conformance to the strategy that our executive management team proves, and that includes looking at financial and volumetric targets, also doing some statistical modeling to quantify the price exposure to our energy prices, as well as working with Dennis's team on a day-to-day basis to make sure that the execution of the strategy is successful. That involves reviewing the trades that Dennis's teams transacts, making sure that they're eligible, that we're able to enter into contracts with them, also ensuring that the transactions are done within predefined limits, and also recording those transactions at the end of the day to make sure that they properly flow into our records so that we keep track of every trade that we're going to be liable for. Lastly, knowing that there's more and more individuals involved in this process, what we've done is we've rolled out additional controls to specify who will be involved in this. So we now keep track of a list in terms of who can perform what function and any delegations, and any changes to this list would require the approval of the COO and the CFO. Lastly, I think just moving to the counterparties, I just wanted to report good news here that the portfolio continues to be of investment grade quality and all are agency rated. This is consistent with the ask the trustees had of us back in 2022. And I think we're just very happy with this portfolio in terms of being quality entities that support the program. And we were recently able to also add another 2 entities that were A- rated by S&P. This results in increasing the portfolio diversification to avoid any counterparty concentration to any one entity in case there's a systemic failure in any industry, whether our counterparties are utilities or a bank. Lastly, my team has implemented guidance to ensure that the credit lines amongst these counterparties are utilized equally and optimally to avoid having NYPA to post collateral so that we could use our cash in the most efficient manner. I'm now going to turn it over to Dennis, who's going to talk about some of the day-to-day detail and some of the hedging that his team has done.
Before you turn it over, does anyone have any questions? No, you're all set. Thank you.
We'll also be available to ask your questions, Deb.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you, Earl. All right, so Earl and Tom actually mentioned commodity market price volatility a few times this morning, and I just wanted to show you guys on this chart here that 1/4 of NYPA's generation is exposed to the commodity market price volatility risk, as we've mentioned. In this mix, a large portion of it consists of merchant generation, and that's that orange box you see there. What's merchant generation? Well, it's the leftover megawatts after all customer obligations have been met by our generation that we then sell into the wholesale capacity and wholesale energy markets. Now, given the fact that we sell this into the wholesale markets, we then expose ourselves to the volatility of market price fluctuations. Next slide, please. And so what are we doing about stabilizing some of that merchant revenue stream for the purpose of being able to budget and plan more accordingly? We designed the multi-year merchant hedging strategy, as you have seen before. It's a method of hedging programmatically, where we actually layer on hedges throughout the year for the outer years. Sorry. And we have volumetric targets in which we're trying to achieve throughout each month until we actually hit the minimum targets that you see right there on the left-hand chart, both for energy and capacity. So this current strategy, for example, for the outer year of 2026, we're trying to achieve 45% of the forecasted volume in energy, trying to hedge that. And we're also trying to hedge 65% of the forecasted capacity volume, and so on and so forth. You'll also notice that the percentage targets decrease as you go further out. That's obviously because the uncertainty, the further out you look, the larger the uncertainty of where these things will settle become. So we don't want to lock in too much of those outer years given the possibility of giving away too much of the upside in selling this power. So my team of traders, Earl's risk management team, we collaborated diligently, and I can assure you that we are currently on track to achieve those targets by the end of this year. And in fact, by next month, we'll have completed what we're trying to achieve for 2026 specifically. So if we look at the right-hand side of this slide, that chart shows us the risk reduction results of our energy portfolio for the outer years due to our hedging. Just want to point out that the volumes or the percentage values you see there are not the actual volumes of hedges that we put into place. It's actually the risk reduction, the financial risk reductions that we've created due to the hedges that we have put in place. So for year 2026, we've reduced the financial price risk by about 46%. 2027, we reduced it by 18%, and 2028 by 5%. Just to put things into context, for one of those years, 2026, that 46% risk reduction equates to roughly $22 million of risk reduction. So that's tremendous. That allows us to stay within our risk appetite for this particular risk category, commodity market price volatility. Next slide, please. And the next one is the same measurements for capacity portfolio. It's very similar to the risk reductions you've seen for the energy portfolio, 48% for 2026, 20% reduction for 2027, and 1% for 2028. You're not going to see a large risk reduction for 2028 is because the strategy that we've developed allows us to kind of wait until the end of this year to trade those contracts for 2028. And that's for the reasons of price discovery and also liquidity matters in the market because, obviously for products that are that far out, there's not a lot of counterparties that are willing to do these trades with us. And to put things into perspective again, for the 2026 data, the 48% equates to about $25 million worth of financial risk reduction due to our hedges. And that is everything Earl and I prepared for you today. We'll take any questions if there are any.
Are there any questions from any of the board members, subcommittee members? I would just comment again that what this looks to me to be a reflection of is the hard work of Earl and Dennis and the whole risk group that bring this today with a positive result that we can all share. And I thank them for that because I first of all, I'm getting to understand this a lot more, and Alexis has been great because this is not my area of knowledge, but also these meetings that we're having, we're building on information from before and presenting it in a way that we can all follow. So thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else?
If we
Okay.
can now move on to cybersecurity update, and we have our CISO, Vic Costanza.
Good morning, everyone. Chairman, NYPA trustees, NYPA staff, and members of the public. I'm Vic Costanza, Chief Information Security Officer, and today I'll be providing a brief cybersecurity update. So as Alexis alluded to, overall, we do continue to see a high volume of geopolitical threats in the wild that have been increasing in complexity and sophistication. You've likely seen in the news threat actors, nation state threat actors, China, Russia, Iran, all increasing their capabilities and targeting entities with such things that, as you see up there, phishing, vulnerability, exploitation, distributed denial of service attacks, and supply chain threats, just to name a few. But despite those increasing threats that we are seeing overall, as you can see over the past year, we've seen an uptick about 28% from 2024. NYPA and Canals have not been materially impacted due to the protective measures and risk mitigation controls that we have in place. And these really can be summed up into four major areas, four focus areas to address the evolving threat landscape. One, user training and awareness. Resilience. Two, partnerships, and building secure by design. So in the user training and awareness area, that's really where everything starts, right? We always say cybersecurity is everyone's responsibility. And it really starts with the end user remaining vigilant. So we conduct cyber awareness campaigns through phishing exercises, safety moments. We have interactive events that we hold throughout the year. We actually will be having, in addition to the awareness messaging we do throughout the year, we'll be having in Cybersecurity Awareness Month, some of the outreach with our various users at the health fairs, safety barbecues. We'll set up some Q&A and awareness capabilities there for the users to interact with us and to remain safe, both at work and at home, so that they can ask questions and build a culture of security, just like safety. And I'm proud to say over the past 2 years, we've maintained a 1% phishing susceptibility test rate with our users, keeping it low, keeping them vigilant. This way, if they see something, they say something, they report it instead of clicking on it and being curious. So we're continuing to build that awareness. And I just want to tell our users, great job, but watch out. We're coming for some more tricky ones that may get you. So always be vigilant. Resilience. So we continue to conduct exercises across our landscape to test the ability to respond and recover from potential incidents. We just completed our incident response drill series across all of our NYPA regions over the summer. We basically work with all the different cross-functional teams, and we're really making these more functional now. We're conducting them in the field with the equipment in areas where it's safe. Obviously, maybe there's a unit out of service or so on, but we actually walk through the actual process. So it's the incident response plan, but we're actually doing more of a hands-on functional walkthrough of what they would do if that piece of equipment was impacted. How would they isolate it, recover from something occurring, or even going to manual operation? So we're continuing to evolve those to become more functional with the equipment and the environment. Partnerships are always key, both internal and external. Internally, we work closely with many cross-functional teams. Cybersecurity works with operations technology. We have a very close IT/OT collaboration across our technology landscape. Operations, engineering, physical security, Larry Mallory's team, crisis management, the resilience team, Alexis's team, John with supply chain security threats as well. So this basically was very much exemplified recently in an assessment that was done by FERC. FERC basically assessed all our licensed hydro projects, and the inspectors checked our overall cybersecurity program. And I'm happy to say that, I'll just quote what they said. The strong relationship, support, and teamwork between the groups supporting NYPA's overall security posture are second to none, right? They stated that the NYPA program they inspected was among the best they had seen. And that's a testament to everything that we've done to build that culture of security within our program. We also work very closely with other external partners such as FBI. We just held a cyber summit at Niagara Power Project to expand on collective defense. LPPC, our Large Public Power Council, our Cybersecurity Task Force. We recently formed a subject matter expert subcommittee with our member utilities so that we can share information more readily on threats, products, things that work well, and build best practices. EPRI, Electric Power Research Institute. I recently was nominated the vice chair of the Information Communication Technology and Cybersecurity Sector Council, ICCS, which, that's where we'll really help to build and lead innovative research for different sub-programs and member companies. And we'll focus on areas such as AI, nationwide resilient communications, and supply chain security. So we've got some active projects in motion there. We also maintain a close partnership with our municipalities and cooperatives, our customers, and we'll actually be conducting an incident response drill with them coming up later this month so that we can walk them through the best practices around incident response readiness, how to identify, detect, protect, and respond if they were to incur an incident. And it really, through that, we help to build a stronger energy ecosystem, working with both those partners, the smaller entities, as well as our bulk electric system partners. And lastly, the secure by design. We continue to build our kill chain protections. We can't back down on that. The threat landscape continues to evolve. We evolve our program to stay ahead of it. It's crucial to stop those threats before they proliferate. So that includes just a few projects that we're focusing on this year: identity and access management as a foundation to our capabilities. Everybody needs to log in to our systems. That's the keys to the kingdom. So we continue to strengthen our capabilities there for multi-factor authentication, secrets, and certificate management. Managing our attack surface, as our digital footprint grows, we want to have that visibility, make sure we can identify threats and vulnerabilities before they could be potentially targeted, and really build on that layered security approach as a foundation in all of our Vision 2030 renewed initiatives. So really through these efforts, we continue to maintain a zero material cyber incident rate. And, we just, like I said, want to continue those investments, continue that focus from all those areas that I just went through to keep our program at the forefront. And that's my update for today. I'll take any questions.
Thank you. Anybody have anything for Vic? I'm going to repeat what I said for the other presentation, which is the Power Authority surrounds itself with people who excel at what they do, and the entire entity benefits from the hard work of those individuals. Vic's group included, and I can't even stress the importance of his information today in terms of understanding how it all works to maintain the safety and security of NYPA. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Just for
Almost had
both.
applause there.
I would do applauding and standing up because this is good stuff. Dennis and his presentation and Vic's, just for the purposes of our meeting today, no vote is necessary. Their information provided is update in nature.
Good. So we're now up to the final leg of our Risk and Resiliency Committee meeting today, and that was aligned to our third thing to know, which was the fact that our Canal's risk profile has improved over the years, and we wanted to provide the committee with an overview of the plethora of ways in which we have seen this come to fruition. So we have Dave Mellen, who is our SVP and Regional Manager for Canals, who will take us through a couple of topics.
Thank you, Alexis. Good morning, Chairwoman Morris, Chairman Koelmel, trustees, NYPA colleagues, and members of the public. So today I am going to provide a progress update to the Risk and Resilience Committee relative to 4 functional areas that are either fully or partially what's known as shared services internally at NYPA and Canals. And what that simply means is that some of these functional areas are entirely NYPA employees providing service to Canals. And in other instances, it's Canal employees and NYPA employees working together or otherwise collaborating. So if we go back to the transfer in 2017, a lot has happened since then. Not only have we increased or bolstered our resources and our tools in terms of risk reduction, but we've basically learned and leveraged the synergies, the natural synergies between the business that NYPA does and the business that Canal does. And there's lots of synergies. So this isn't really about the longer term infrastructure repairs that we've talked about that rely on additional funding and a multi-decade program to repair these assets that are very expensive to repair, but rather this is about organizational improvements that are happening underneath the hood at NYPA and Canals that not only reduce risk, but serve as a critical framework for the future, a foundation. In other words, if you fast forward 5 to 10 years and we are in the mode of, expensive repairs across many assets, really hard to do that without having a foundation in place so we can actually accurately understand the risk and know where to point our resources. So I'm going to talk about these 4 areas briefly: asset management, dam safety, environmental health and safety, and public, governmental, and media relations. These are not the only 4 shared services that are helping Canals. These are 4 for the purposes of this update. There are many others that are helping Canals. And I'll just, you can see the words in the white boxes there, but asset management in effect has 2 parts. It's inspections and it's risk analysis. Those are the 2 primary functions that our asset management group provides. And they work with maintenance and operations to ensure the efficient use of our resources and staying cost effective. Dam safety, this is a shared service that is NYPA employees, 5 NYPA employees facing Canals. They're subject matter experts. And they are helping us to not only make sure that we're in compliance with DEC requirements, but also for the dam part of the portfolio, which is huge. There's over 100 DEC regulated dams and over 1,000 water impounding assets. They help us have the right understanding of the risk associated with these assets. Okay, and then we can work with asset management and fit these into the portfolio and the capital program where they should be fitted in. Environmental health and safety is basically 3 components to that. It's employee safety, it's protecting the environment, and it's also cultural resources. So, and that shared service is similar to dam safety, facing Canals entirely through NYPA. Nearly, there might be an employee or 2, but the vast majority of that resource is NYPA employees. And then we've got public, government, and media relations. In effect, this is the communications and interactions between the Canal Corporation and outside entities. Could be governmental, could be public, could be local municipality. But this is our voice, and this is about relationship building and about trust, and how that really promotes our reputational risk profile. Okay, next slide, please. So asset management. So this is you see a timeline here. So this is just attempting to paint a picture that, prior to the transfer, yes, there was an inspection program in place. Yes, there was a condition rating. We understood the probability perhaps of an asset failing, but we did not understand the impact of what would happen upon a failure. And it's the risk of failure, multiplied by the impact that results in the overall risk. So there really was not a formal asset management program. Since the transfer, we've created an asset management program We've got over a dozen resources aimed at canals, and we are coordinating closely with NYPA's asset management team. So we formed a team, okay, and it's not a small team. There's thousands of assets. I know we've heard this before, but it's a lot to get through this stuff and understand where the risk is at. Few things in terms of the maturation between 2023 and 26. The understanding is basically, I think, in my view, the understanding went from, more lower, less than halfway, 20%, 30%, to now the understanding of the portfolio and the risks that come with it is high. It's got to be over 90%, something like that. I feel very comfortable that we understand the risks. So we've got nearly, it says 100% here in terms of the risk register. Nearly all of our assets are in a register with many components to the analysis for each asset, so we can thoroughly understand it. The ramp that's mentioned there, that is our first regional asset management plan, and we will produce this yearly, but we are now getting very similar to how NYPA manages their assets. Structural inspections is up. We're doing now approximately 500 inspections a year, and dam safety is helping us with another 200. So lots of inspections across the system. The Power Business BI, or Power Business Intelligent Dashboard Microsoft product, basically all this information on all these assets, we are taking a very transparent approach where all the data is available to the folks who need it internally. So there is no hiding the information, and this tool is very useful in terms of understanding it, slicing it different ways. It really ramps up the understanding. So a lot happening under the hood in terms of this understanding at the portfolio level. And as we continue, we're continuing to collaborate with NYPA, on many ways, whether it's committees or risk liaison programs. So lots of collaboration. So I just feel the asset management foundation is in place in a very good way. And we've gotten through the portfolio, and now we are, at the beginning of this point, back to the infrastructure, where if the funding comes in, hopefully we can start making these big repairs. Okay, next slide, please. So that was asset management. Dam safety, similar. Dam safety and asset management working very closely together. Established in 2018, similar. There was no dam safety program in place at the time of transfer. So if you go back to 2018, this is a new thing. So we established it. There's 5 dedicated NYPA employees helping us out with our entire portfolio of dams, which is very large. We have the governance in place. So all that needs to be done with dams, either from a compliance perspective or an inspection perspective, or a understanding of risk perspective, all the responsibilities are pinned down through the governance that we have in place. And like I said, compliance and understanding are probably the two, biggest things. The inspections kind of fits beneath the understanding, but the emergency action plans it's something that I have to mention because this is a very important part of risk reduction. In other words, this is creating a plan and working with communities so that they are ready in the event of a failure. And so, is it preferred to fix it? Yes, but that's hard to do when there's so many assets that need repair. So preparing communities to react in the most efficient way to save lives. This has been a significant effort of the dam safety team. There's 31 of these plans have been issued on our high hazard structures, high and intermediate hazard structures. It's a very important part of the process, and we are being successful there. And in terms of the understanding the risks associated with the dam is complex. There's, suffice to say that there's a variety of studies available to us, techniques and methods to understand this stuff. And there has been a ton of studies done, mostly through consultants, to give us the right understanding so we can make the best decisions in terms of repair, or whether it needs to be emergent work, or whether we need to repair a small part of the dam because that small part poses the highest risk, so on and so forth. So understanding dam risk, dam safety, extremely helpful. So lots of good stuff there, and dam safety and asset management are tied at the hip because dams are a big part of our portfolio. Next slide. So environmental health and safety, this one is aimed at the risk associated with employee safety, environmental incidents, and cultural resources. Similar, we did come over at the time of transfer with a few health and safety employees who are still with us today, leading the charge on the health and safety front. But we've tripled the staff to over a dozen employees again. And the staff is integrated with our site. So not all, but many of the health and safety and environmental staff are situated at our maintenance sites. So they are getting to know people. They are working very closely with the team out in the field. They are dealing with the real world out there. And it's really become very cohesive. And it's not a they or them, us kind of thing. It's really one team. So again, grew a team. Currently, the DART rate is trending downward, still room for improvement, but it is trending downward relative to the long historical data that we have. Almost every project of any significance gets a review by our EH&S team. That's a new thing relative to the throughway. Almost every project, over 1,000 projects have been reviewed. That work continues. And the walk downs, that effort is relatively new, but at this point, we have a program that identifies a goal of walk downs at every site. So that's where maintenance and health and safety staff walk the site to identify hazards before the work is performed. And we're over 90% in terms of meeting those program goals right now. A lot of effort relative to culture as well. How people feel about all this stuff is important, and it affects the way they behave at work, and we recognize that. So, you know, whether it's the Monday morning safety minute, whether it's the EH&S dashboard that puts all the data for everyone to see and shows where we're doing great and where we need improvement, transparent approach to safety at canals. Whether it's safety surveys, we have our safety barbecues coming up here in the fall. So the management team, NYPA and Canal, is definitely committed to trying to change the thinking around the importance of some of this stuff. And I think we're making progress there. But, you know, many have pointed out that, you know, to do so is not a quick thing. It takes time, you know, to get through all this and embed it in the culture. And I think my sense is that it's, you know, this has taken root now for sure, but there's still room for improvement, but it's all good. And then in the cultural resource end of things, you know, we have a very old fleet. We made significant progress in changing out the fleet, old vessels for new vessels. A lot of the old vessels sat on our property and are very difficult to get rid of because they may be on the National Register or eligible for listing on the National Register. So the cultural resources team with EH&S has really helped us in interfacing with the SHPO to make some progress there and clear out our maintenance yards for other work activities. So lots of good stuff going on with health and safety. And lastly, public, governmental, and media relations. So this is aimed at our reputational risk. And I can just say here that, you know, a lot of this is due to all the work that Rebecca Hughes and her team have accomplished. And it's just really significant to see how this allows us to get the work done that we need to get done. And the way that works with that relationship is that, you know, so many people have so much interest in the canal system, whether it's a business need, whether it's water that they need, or whether they have too much water. And when we have to do stuff on the system, having a voice in front of us to pave the way, knock down barriers, however you want to think of it, is so critical to all the work that we do. So It's proactive versus reactive. It's building relationships. It's trust. It goes right to the heart of how, how people, New York State government, private business, the public view us. So this is our voice. So this is a really important thing. And this team, similar to the other three, has expanded from 1 to 7 now. That may seem like a lot, but it's really not, considering the geographic coverage. So these folks are situated across the state, and they are working closely with operations and maintenance to understand what's ahead, what might be sensitive, and they are getting out ahead of it and doing a great job. So a lot of good stuff there as well. So just that kind of summarizes it. 4 areas of shared services, a lot headed in the right direction. There's more, but I think we've made some significant progress here. And I'd be glad to take questions.
Any questions for Dave?
No questions for Dave, other than to say that in my time on the board, it does my heart good, I guess is what I want to say, to see the alignment and goals of NYPA and Canal coming together in such a way. That saying, culture strategy for breakfast. Well, I think we've overcome that finally with NYPA and Canal, and I'm really excited to see it and hear the results of it, right? So thank you. And maybe it's because we're headed into that bicentennial and we're all kind of focused on canals, but I just want to say thanks. Thanks to everybody on both sides, NYPA and Canals.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dave. And yeah, that was an impactful report. And when I think about when I still call us the newbies, but 4 of us came on board, the difference between the information we received on canals then versus now is, I'm going to say immeasurable from my perspective, because we as Dave pointed out, they've created a critical framework between the 2 entities. And you're right, it's a foundation and you have to spring from there. But this report is impactful because it shares all that work that's gone into it and the end result. And as B noted, what a positive result we have now to go forward. Thank you. With that, there's no, it's an update, no vote is necessary. Anybody else have any information, questions, comments for anyone who's shared with us so far today? If not, we'll go back to Alexis for a wrap up. Oh, did I take you off guard, Alexis?
Oh, no, not at all. It's absolutely fine. Just pausing in case any of the trustees had questions who were part of the committee. And hearing none, I mean, and just in wrap up, I would literally just repeat, we started off saying there was a packed agenda. There were 3 key takeaways to keep in mind. We've covered them all. The first one was that we have seen movement in our NYPA and our canals risk profiles. The second one was that for some of our specialized programs around energy commodity market dynamics and around cybersecurity, we are keeping pace. And lastly, that through shared services and through our focus over a period of several years, that we are actually showing good improvements in the canal's risk profile. Nothing is perfect, and there'll be more to come across both NYPA and canal's risk programs, but we're feeling pretty confident about the direction that we're heading.
Thank you. We have a consent agenda that includes the minutes from our last meeting. And does anyone have any questions about the minutes or amendments or anything? If not, I would entertain a motion to adopt the consent agenda.
So moved.
Right. And the second, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, there being any opposition? No. The motion carries. Last thing is a discussion on our next meeting. We don't have a date. We'll be reaching out with a date for that. But my experience with Alexis is she's always available to me or to any other trustees that have any questions in the interim about risk, resiliency, or anything. She's very responsive, very helpful, and provides assistance whenever asked. So is there anything else today? I would entertain a motion to conclude the meeting. Nobody wants to leave.
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Oh, thank you. All in favor?
Uh,
Aye. Okay. And I guess we'll see everybody next week in Niagara and Buffalo and celebrate the Canal's 200th birthday. Thank you.
Thank you.